Good morning. So loud today. Uh, the meeting of the Windward Planning Commission will now come to order. The time now is 9 o'clock. It is Friday, July 7th, 2023. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. I'll now introduce our commissioners. So first off, Vice Chair Louis Danieli III.
Good morning.
Commissioner Lauren Baylog.
Good morning.
Commissioner Wayne Deleuze.
Good morning.
Commissioner John Cross and Commissioner Chantel Perrin are excused today, and I am Chairperson Dennis Lin. We have a quorum to hold this meeting today. Introducing the Office of the Corporation Counsel, Deputy Corporation Counsel Susanna Tiapula. She is now our new attorney for the commission. Welcome.
Good morning.
Deputy Corporation Counsel Jean Campbell, attorney for the Planning Department. Representing the Planning Department, Planning Director Zendo Kern for items 1, 2, and 3.
Aloha, good morning.
And I believe Mr. Darrell does not have to be here today. Introducing staff, Planning Program Manager Maya Jackson, Planner Tracy Lee Camaro, Planner Jessica Andrews, Planner Alex Roy, Commission Secretary Melissa Dakayanan Salvador, and Zoom host Janice Hata. Just some housekeeping. A reminder to please keep your phones either on silent or turned off. If there is anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the yellow sign-up form at the staff table in the back here. Also, if you have any written testimony that has not been sent in earlier, you may submit it now to staff. When testifying, please press the button below the microphone. When the light goes on, that means your mic is hot and the mic is on. And please, please mute it when you're done speaking, and then please be recognized by me before speaking. Approval of the minutes. The June 2nd minutes were circulated. Are there any corrections or is there a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from June 2nd.
Okay. It's been moved by Vice Chair Daniele. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Deleuze. Any discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Thank you. We'll now move on to the statements from the public on agenda items. As stated in the published agenda, members of the public may provide public testimony regarding any agenda item now or at the time of the agenda item is called to order. If there is anyone here who would like to testify, please fill out the yellow sign-up form and give it to staff. And again, if you have written testimony, you may submit it now. Testifiers on Zoom, you may choose to provide your testimony now at the time of the agenda item is called to order, or at the time the agenda item is called to order. Please keep your video camera off and audio muted until you're called by Janice. Please note that this is an in-person meeting and the Zoom platform and YouTube live stream are provided as a courtesy. Therefore, our meeting will proceed even if the Zoom or YouTube connections fail. Finally, before we start receiving public testimony pursuant to Rule 1-5 of the Planning Commission's Rules of Practice and Procedure, I'd like to remind everyone to be courteous and respectful of all testifiers, staff members, and commissioners. Please direct all testimony to me as chair. Okay, so I do want to make an announcement that item number 4, Robert J. Silber, both the contested case has been withdrawn and the application for Mr. Silber has been withdrawn. So if you do wish to provide testimony, you can still provide it today. So it is up to the testifiers. So I have Mr. Robert Silber. Would you come up? If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission? Please press the microphone button in front of you, right? Please state your name, the town you reside in, and please summarize your testimony in 3 minutes.
3 minutes. My name is Robert Jerome Silber, and I reside at 13-2060 Lolea Place, Pahoa, Hawaii, 96778. Okay. All right. Dear members of the Planning Commission and members of the public, I am here today to apply, or I should say with temporarily at least have withdrawn our application for a special permit for my property at 13-2060 Lolea Place. I understand this is a request and a privilege, not a right. I would like to explain why I've applied for this permit. For 30 years, I've worked in the fields of sustainable development and personal growth and development. I have lived, worked, and taught courses at centers all over the world. I'm a member of the Holistic Centers Network, which is made up of centers that integrate a residential community of staff and volunteers and guests who come to learn at the center. My background includes an undergraduate degree in political and social thought from the University of Virginia, a master's degree in permaculture, massage school, and many courses in a variety of personal growth modalities such as meditation, yoga, trauma healing, sensuality, body awareness, and many others. For many years, I worked for environmental nonprofit organizations such as the Sierra Club, Waterkeeper Alliance, Center for Science in the Public Interest, and many others. I moved to Hawaii and Puna in 2004, and I co-founded La'Akea Permaculture Community. I have been involved in the intentional community movement for decades and am a member of the Hawaii Sustainable Community Association. Over the last 10 years, I have developed Lolea Place into a model off-grid neighborhood of 12 privately held lots. One of the lots is the subject parcel we are discussing today. In 2013, I had the opportunity to purchase this 25-acre parcel, which at the time was an abandoned macadamia orchard, which provided no food, no homes, and no native habitat. In 2014, the original subdivision was approved by the County of Hawaii. Upon subdivision, I sold 5 of the 6 lots, and I reinvested the profits of the sale of these lots into the development now known as the Hawaii Eco Retreat. My aim in building the Lolea Place neighborhood was to create a beautiful residential community as well as an educational center located in the neighborhood. In 2016, I retained the services of Michael Dresser, a consultant who advised me to construct buildings through the as-built permit process. This was a huge mistake. I should have applied for building permits and a special permit before I ever started construction. I take responsibility for that. I'm aware that that was a significant error.
That's time.
Excuse me? Can I have another minute?
Mr. Silber, I'll allow you to finish your testimony.
Great. Thank you so much. It's just a few more paragraphs. I also should have had more meetings with local neighbors who were bothered by the construction of our 1,000-foot-long paved road, which created more traffic and noise for them. And they were also suspicious of a new intentional community in Puna. I thought I was being a good neighbor by providing an opportunity to meet neighbors and generate goodwill. If you look at the emails that were exchanged at the end of 2022, I had addressed all the concerns of the neighbors, and I believed at that point we would receive their support for a special permit, which they indicated they would. We also provide a telecommunications hub, a natural disaster hub above the tsunami zone, and we provide a meeting space as well as a pickleball court for senior citizens, which use it every day. Due to the financial hardships of 2018 lava flow and the pandemic, it has been difficult to survive financially, but we have built a short-term hosted vacation rental business to the point of consistent 5-star reviews and superhost status on Airbnb. You can review the long list of favorable reviews that we have generated. In addition, we have planted hundreds of fruit trees, large gardens where much of our food comes from. We are totally off-grid with 72 solar panels, over 50,000 gallons of water storage, and a geothermal well for our spa area and irrigation. We provide a place of healing, solitude, nature, as well as social connection in a drug and alcohol-free environment. We are very quiet and respectful of neighbors. Unfortunately, in the age of social media, QAnon, and conspiracy theorists, we have generated opposition from some people in the neighborhood who are not familiar with the actual day-to-day life here and wonderful experiences that people have as they have testified to that you can review our testimony. Several of the neighbors in opposition to our special permit have never visited us, even though we have invited them many times. In addition, we have experienced some volunteers and guests break our agreements around drugs and alcohol and then try to extract revenge by planting stories about us on social media. We ask you to evaluate our special permit proposal in light of the many, many people who have submitted supporting testimony who actually know us and the support of County of Hawaii Planning Department and the understanding that Puna and Big Island need more places like Hawaii Eco Retreat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Silver, for your testimony. Because the agenda item has been withdrawn, we will not be, taking any action on that application. But when your application is ready again, sir, you can bring it forth to the Planning Commission. At this time, are there any other in-person testifiers for any agenda item? Seeing none, Janice, are there any Zoom testifiers?
We have 3 people registered to testify on Zoom, but none of them have showed up yet. So I will let you know when they enter the Zoom room. And they're all testifying on agenda item 4.
Okay. Seeing that they're not ready, and we'll just continue onto agenda item number 1. At this time, can I have a motion to close public testimony?
Motion to close
Okay,
public testimony.
motion by Commissioner Baylog,
I'll second that.
seconded by Vice Chair Daniele. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public testimony is now closed. Janice, please let me know if any testifiers show up on Zoom.
Yes, will do.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 1, Dennis Schmidt, application PL-SMA-2023-000029. Application for a special management area use permit to allow for the development of a 4-lot agricultural subdivision on 20.027 acres of land. The subject property is located to the north Makai of Old Mamalahoa Highway, approximately 270 feet east of its intersection with Milo Street, portion of Humu'ula and O'okala, North Hilo, Hawaii, TMK 3-9-001, parcel number 24. Okay. Tracy, are you presenting on both of them? So am I doing one first and then the other, or?
I am presenting on both of them. They are going to be in one presentation because
Okay.
it is a rezone that is concurrent with the SMA.
Okay, then I will call also agenda item number 2. Applicant is Dennis Schmidt. Application PL-REZ-2023-000041. Application for a change of zone from an agricultural A-A20 agricultural zoning district to agricultural A5A zoning district for 20.027 acres of land. The subject property is located to the north Makai of Old Mamalahoa Highway, approximately 270 feet east of its intersection with Milo Street, portion of Humu'ula and O'okala, North Hilo, Hawaii, TMK 3-9-001, parcel number 24. Tracy, please proceed with staff presentation.
My apologies. 1 second, please. Janice, can you see this presentation?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good morning, Chair and members of the Windward Planning Commission. Before you today, we have the Dennis Schmidt's Changes Zone Application PL-REZ 2023-41, as well as a Special Management Area Use Permit Application PL-SMA 2023-29. The subject property is located within the O'Okala district of North Hilo, Hawaii. Before you today, the applicant's request. The applicant is currently requesting a change of zone from the agricultural 20-acre zoning district to the agricultural 5-acre zoning district and a special management area use permit to allow for the development of a 4-lot agricultural subdivision on a total of 20.027 acres of land. If the requested land use entitlement changes are approved, the applicant is proposing to subdivide the property into 4 lots consisting of 5.027 acres and 5 acres in size in order to continue and expand the grazing, orchard, and crop activities by subdividing the property to allow for more intensive farming by the individual family members. The applicant currently anticipates that the property will be subdivided within 3 years and is anticipated to cost somewhere around $200,000. On the screen before you is the county zoning map. The current zoning of the subject property, as indicated on the red on your screen, is agricultural 20, and you can see it's within the darker green shades. Malka of the subject property is a property that the Windward Planning Commission had previously heard. Their current zoning is FA 1 acres, shown to you in the blue. To the north of the property is the MG 1 acre, which was the old industrial site of the O'Okala Mill. And further, Malka is residential 10,000 square feet, sorry. The state land use designation for the map is agricultural as well as conservation. On my screen, I can't really see the conservation, but I just wanted to make sure you guys can see the conservation. It is located within the blue area along the Mackay portion of the subject property. The property to the north of the subject property to the north is located within the urban district. The land use pattern allocation guide map for the subject property does show that the property is located within an industrial area shown in the gray, an urban expansion area shown in the breakthrough. A small portion of it is within the low density urban, and the Mackay portion of the property is located within the open district. The planning director did make an interpretation that the subject property is located within the urban expansion. In the following slides, we'll show you a discrepancy that is currently within the LUPAG map as well as the Hamakua CDP. However, that is something that the director has addressed in his letter to the applicant. It is within the application packet, and it will be addressed with future general plan changes as well as CDP changes. So this is the Hamakua CDP map, which you can see the subject property is located within the important agricultural land, as well as the open areas along the Mackay portion. So this is kind of where the discrepancy is. However, the director did make the interpretation that the subject property is located within the urban expansion. This is a current aerial photograph of the subject property. Currently on the property, there is a house as well as a garage. The applicant does live within the house and plans to reside in that house as he does plan to subdivide the property. This is an aerial photograph of the subject property looking at Malka. Based on the comments that were received by DOFA had indicated that there was a canoe landing located within the Mackay portion of the property. So staff went out there. Due to the steep nature of the cliff, there were no good clear photos that we could get from the top of the pulley. So we thought showing the commission an aerial photograph from the shoreline. We could not find any remnants of the canoe landing. It is in the record that there was some sort of canoe landing historically. There is a possibility that the canoe landing is submerged at this time. And due to the steep nature of the cliff, approximately 200 feet, the director was not recommending any public access requirements due to the safety of the property. Before you is the conceptual subdivision map. To the left of your screen, you can see the ocean portion of the property. Within the 40-foot setback of the top of the pulley, there is an existing fence that the applicant will be removing prior to subdivision. This just kind of shows the commission the 4 lot subdivisions that are all going to be within 5 acres. The access to the subject property is shown to you from the right side, the right portion of the screen, which is going to be through a utility and roadway easements through the property owner that's to the Malca of this property, Mr. Cardoza. On your screen is a site photo. This is looking down at the property from Old Mamalohoa Highway. There's currently an agricultural easement that leads to this property as well as other properties in the area that the applicant currently uses to access his property. To the right of this is the Mr. Cardoza's property that had come before the Windward Planning Commission. We really just wanted to show you these photos to show you that the house you can see from Old Mamalohoa Highway. While there is a slope in the nature of the area, you can still kind of see the house as well as all of the ironwood trees that do block the view of the shoreline, well, of the sea from this area. On the left of your screen, there is a photo of the existing dwelling of the subject property, and to the right is the existing garage that is currently located on the subject property. As stated, the applicant does plan to stay within these structures and does not plan to remove them. These site photos on the left is a view of the subject property facing east. You can see on the left portion of the screen that the current property is vacant of structures. It is used for cattle and grazing. And then to the right of that picture is the neighboring property, Mr. Cardoza. There is also existing utility easements that are shown with the telephone poles going through the property. This is along the border of the Moonlight Road, which will be providing access to all of the lots. To the right of your screen is the portion of the property where Moonlight Road will be adjoining and will be providing access to the subject properties that are being proposed in this subdivision. The current width of that road is approximately 60 feet. It's pretty wide, and it's an existing road that was there from the old O'Okala mill. And that is planned to be used by that applicant, Mr. Cardoza, as well as Mr. Schmidt together to create the easements for the subdivision. So the planning director is recommending a favorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council. And that concludes my presentation. I can turn it back to the chair.
Thank you, Tracy. Any questions for Tracy?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to clarify, we're recommending a favorable recommendation for the rezoning and approval of the SMA permit with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. So any comments or questions for Tracy? If not, we'll move on to the applicant's presentation. So will the applicant or the representative please come forward? And I'll swear you both in at the same time. So if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
I do.
Okay. Please speak directly into the microphone, state your name, the area you reside in, and whom you represent. And the question I have to ask is, have you received the background and recommendation report from the planning department? And do you agree with the recommendations and the proposed conditions?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Windward Planning Commission, Planning Director Kern. My name is Darren Arai. I'm a land use planning consultant assisting the applicant, Dennis Schmidt, with today's applications before you. Again, I reside in Hilo, and Mr. Schmidt resides in O'Okala on the subject property. We did receive the background reports and recommendation reports, And we are in agreement with both the analysis as well as the proposed conditions for approval and favorable recommendation. And we do appreciate the thoroughness and thoughtfulness of the review of those of these applications. The property itself, I mean, given its proximity to the former O'Okala Mill, which, as you saw on the maps that Tracy presented, was a former mill site, industrial type of uses, to the extent that even the subject property was designated for industrial uses before Director Kern clarified that the property is in the urban expansion area. But clearly, historical uses focus on these lands possibly being developed for additional urban type of uses. Mr. Schmidt, the intention of the rezoning application and the SMA is to provide opportunities to his family to further cultivate the lands for agricultural purposes. And that's in line with the Hamakua Community Development Plan, which identified these lands for as important agricultural lands, as well as the high quality of the soils, prime agricultural lands by Alish, as well as Class B soils, if I remember correctly. So again, the intent here is to further cultivate the land as it has been historically, used in pasture, used for cultivating various type of crops. And most importantly, providing opportunities for Mr. Schmidt's family members. I did wish to, and I do appreciate the thoroughness of the application that was presented by Tracy. It makes my job so much more easier. You know, I've been doing this for a while, but I still pretty nervous, as you can tell. But that being said, we did wish to make one clarification. Is there a way to bring up the state land use map again that was shown? I just wish to wanted to clarify that this particular map, it is broad brush, very broad brushed. And it shows that the subject property outlined in red carries both agricultural designations as shown by the light green and conservation district classification shown by the light blue. However, if you look at Exhibit 2, which is the SMA and change of zone application. And if you look on page 8 of the application, figure 6, the applicant went through probably a year effort with the state to certify the shoreline along the top of Pali within the subject property. And it confirms that the conservation district actually occurs Makai of the top of Pali. So the proposed subdivision basically delineates along the top of Pali. So arguably, and the state land use commission basically confirmed that the conservation district actually begins Makai of the property, along where the top of Pali resides. So I just want to make it clear that it gives the impression that there's a chunk of land within the subject property that's conservation. The state has actually determined that the property itself is not within the conservation district. So I just wanted to make that clear, but otherwise we're in full agreement with the recommendation and the proposed conditions of approval. So we stand ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Arai. Mr. Schmidt, you had any comments you wanted to relay?
No, I just appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody taking time to listen to our application and consider it.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Seeing no questions, is there a motion for action on this application or well, yeah, let's do item number 1, which is the SMA. And then we'll do item number 2, which is the rezone. So in terms of item number 1, is there a motion for action?
I move that the application for special management area use permit docket number PL-SMA-2023-000029 be approved based on the planning director's recommendations, which shall be adopted.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Daniele. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, this has been seconded by Commissioner Deleuze. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none. Roll call vote for agenda item number 1.
Thank you. Vice Chair Daniele,
Aye.
Chair Deleuze, Commissioner Deleuze, my apologies. Commissioner Baylock
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Deleuze can be chair next time. Okay, we will now move on to agenda item number 2, motion for action. If there are no other comments or questions. Yes, I do have a question, Director Kern. Is there a time limit on the rezone?
No,
No, okay.
no. And the reason is we looked at it and it's consistent with the CDP. It's consistent for the future, use of that area. So we saw no reason to give a time limit on it. Thank you.
Thank you. No further comments. Thank you. A motion for action, anybody?
I move that a favorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council on the application for change of zone, docket number PL-REZ-2023-000041, based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Deleuze. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Oh, okay. Second by Vice Chair Daniele. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Okay, if no other discussion, staff, roll call vote on agenda item number 2.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
Vice Chair Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylock,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
The motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Schmidt, you'll be notified via writing of our decision. Thank you. Okay, all good to move on to agenda item number 3. I do want to check in with Janice. Is there anybody on Zoom?
No one on
Oh.
Zoom yet.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So agenda item number 3 is applicant Leland trailer. Application PL-USE-2023-000009. Application for a use permit to operate a 3-bedroom bed and breakfast establishment within an existing 3-bedroom dwelling and an existing 2-bedroom Ohana dwelling situated on approximately 33,006 square feet of land within the single-family residential 20,000 square feet RS20 zoning district. The subject property is located at 11-3789 Pearl Avenue on the south corner of its intersection with 12th Street, Mauna Loa Estates, Volcano, Puna, Hawaii, TMK 31-1-012 parcel number 37. At this time, if we could ask Jessica to a staff presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just get the presentation PowerPoint pulled up here. Janice, can you see the PowerPoint intro slide there?
Yes, I can. Looks good. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So this is a presentation for a use permit application for Leland trailer. The applicant is requesting a use permit to establish a 3-bedroom bed and breakfast operation within a single-family dwelling and an existing 2-bedroom ohana dwelling on the subject property. The main dwelling has 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, of which 1 will be used by guests of the bed and breakfast and 2 will be used by the applicant, who will be the on-site caretaker. The detached ohana dwelling has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, which will be used entirely by guests. And the bed and breakfast will provide overnight accommodation for a maximum of 8 guests for less than 30 days. Breakfast will be provided to registered guests only, and no other meals will be provided. And no exterior signage for the bed and breakfast establishment is being proposed. The reasons for the request: the applicant currently operates a hosted rental. However, in anticipation of the proposed new regulations for hosted rentals, the applicant decided to apply for a use permit to establish a permanent bed and breakfast operation. Here, the location map, you can see the subject property in blue, outlined in black there. It's located in the Mauna Loa Estates subdivision. And the property is, this is the zoning map, and the property is outlined in blue. You can see the property is zoned residential single family, 20 acres, and it borders agricultural property. The state land use designation is urban, and most of the surrounding properties are likewise urban. There is some conservation you can see in the lower right-hand corner of the slide. The subject property, again shown outlined in blue, is designated by the general plan as low-density urban. And there is conservation land in the lower right-hand corner of the slide, as you can see. The Puna CDP shows that this property is within what's called designated as a residential zone, as is most of that subdivision that it's located within. And the aerial photograph here shows you the existing dwelling. The property is located on 12th Street, and surrounding properties also have existing dwellings or are undeveloped forested properties. Here you see the site photographs showing on the left the intersection of Pearl Avenue and 12th Street of the subject property. And on the right, you can see into the property from the entrance gate. This is the view from Pearl Avenue. And on the applicant's site plan, you can see the existing house on the kind of the center right of the slide, bordering Pearl Street there, and then the proposed ohana on the upper left of the property. And this shows a floor plan of the Ohana dwelling, which would be entirely dedicated to the bed and breakfast. This is, as noted there, that these are guest suites 2 and 3. And then on the main dwelling, the portion there that's outlined in blue, this would be guest suite 1, and the remainder is the main house that is occupied by the owner. And the planning director's recommendation on this is approval with conditions. That concludes my presentation, and I'll hand it back to the chair.
Thank you, Jessica. Any comments or questions for Jessica? Jessica, I do have a clarification question. On the site plan, it says proposed Ohana dwelling, but the application says it's already existing. So is this already built? Is this Ohana dwelling already built? Okay, I got it. Understood. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Trailer.
Yeah, so for clarification, it's your permit is to operate the 3-bedroom bed and breakfast, and then approval to develop the 2-bedroom Ohana dwelling. Okay. Yeah, so we'll wait until you come up and do your presentation. Yeah. So you can give us the history. So any other further questions for Jessica? Okay, if not, Mr. Trailer, please come up.
Okay, we'll go ahead and stop sharing
Yeah,
now.
thank you.
Sure.
Okay, if you could please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
I do.
Okay, please state your name, area you reside in, and who you represent.
Leland Trailer. I live in Volcano and I represent myself.
Okay, and you've received the background and recommendation reports from the planning department.
I did.
And do you agree with the recommendations, including the proposed conditions?
I do.
Okay, thank you. And then if you could continue with your discussion about
I really don't have anything formal. I can answer questions, but one of the questions that's come up is the status of the Ohana. And as with many things, things didn't proceed as quickly as I'd hoped. So I'm trying to kind of get these things lined up. So I did get the building permit, which came through actually fairly quickly for the Ohana, but I'm still waiting for contractors and that sort of thing to get going. So that has not proceeded as quickly as I thought. So by this time I had expected, that to be finished, but it's not. So that's kind of where we're at. But I do have an approved building permit for that structure, and it is under construction. So hopefully that answers the question.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Trailer. Any further questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none.
Sorry, Chair.
Oh,
Just had
go
a
ahead.
quick question. So
Commissioner Lewis.
it's an approved bed and breakfast currently? No, not at all.
They're currently trying to establish a bed and breakfast for the whole.
Property.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why go ahead.
Yeah, so currently they have a single family residence and a Ohana permit, which they got the building permit for. And then this would allow them to operate as the bed and breakfast establishment if the planning commission approves it with conditions.
Okay, thank you for clarification.
Any further questions?
Mr. Chair, may I clarify one more thing?
Go ahead, Maya.
So obviously, it's obvious, but I just want to state it for the record that the Ohana dwelling could not be occupied for the bed and breakfast until they receive final inspection from the building department.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? If not, is there a motion for action on this application?
I move that the application for use permit docket number PL USE 2023000009 be approved based on the planning director's recommendations, which shall be adopted.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair Daniele. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Baylog. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing and hearing none, staff, roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylock,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
excuse.
sorry,
Yeah.
she's excused. Excuse me. Chair Lynn,
Aye.
4 votes, the motion passes.
Thank you. And you'll be notified via writing. Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
It was a pleasure working with the staff on this, especially the planning commission staff. And they really walked me through this whole thing as a, if you will, private citizen that's not gone through this process before. So I really appreciate the staff that worked on this.
Thank you. All right. With that, again, item number 4 has been withdrawn, as well as the contested case application from Darren Miller. So those 2 items will not be heard today, and no action will be taken on those items. So I will now move on to the planning director's report. The SMA report for June 2023 was distributed via email. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions for staff regarding that SMA report? Okay. Seeing none. Commissioners, do you have anything that you want to bring up for the next commission hearing? Okay. Seeing none, Maya, do you know how many we have for the next agenda? Oh, great.
For your next meeting.
Okay. Announcements. The Windward Planning Commission's next monthly meeting is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, August 3rd, here in the County Council chambers in Hilo, and the public can also testify via Zoom. The date and venue of the meeting are subject to change, so please check with the planning department or on our website and ask staff. Okay, you guys have any other announcements?
We have no other announcements.
Okay.
Thank you.
If no further business, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move to adjourn today's meeting.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Chair Daniele. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Baylog. All in favor to adjourn the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned at 9:48 a.m.